Welcome to Childcare Rockstar Radio. I am your host, Kris Murray. Childcare leaders around the globe are breaking through challenges, leading the way in innovation, testing new best practices, and impacting children and families in a much more powerful and positive way than ever before. Each week, join me for interviews with early childhood leaders and experts that will leave you inspired to become the next childcare rockstar. Now, let's go. This is episode 86 of Childcare Rockstar Radio, featuring Dr. Nefertiti Poyner. Welcome back to Childcare Rockstar Radio, everybody. This is Kris Murray, and I'm thrilled to welcome you back in. Phew, I have been on a fast-moving train, and it's just about to get a little faster. Here at the Childcare Success Company, we are getting ready to host the unprecedented and ever-expanding Childcare Reimagined Virtual Conference 2020. Attendees are coming in by the droves, and we're getting full. We're getting full in the virtual ballroom. So if you're listening to this real time, it's early October 2020, and we kick off in under 2 weeks with a incredible virtual 3-day event experience like nothing else you've ever experienced. And I can't wait. I literally am jumping out of my skin. So excited to host this thing. I am flying to a undisclosed location on an actual stage in a hotel in Los Angeles. And just a few team members and I are going to be holed up on a pretty cool virtual stage with thousands of screens in front of us, thousands of mini screens. And I really, really hope that you're there. We have lots of ways for you to participate and engage and show your presence and get excited about this thing. And I will be calling on people. We will be giving lots of prizes, points, cash, raffle prizes, and $5,000 in cash to the Childcare Rockstar winner 2020. So if you still are waiting to get your ticket, now is the time. Because if you wait any longer, you may miss out completely. We're not sure how many more people we can accommodate on the virtual platform, and I don't want you to miss it. So hop on over to childcaresuccesssummit.com and claim your ticket. Very low, affordable price. And we kick off on Wednesday morning, October 14th. And if you're in the Academy, we kick off with a special cocktails and conversations, speed networking, really, really fun session with lots of prizes and fun on Tuesday night. And can't wait for all of that. So Jesse Malinowski, our longtime event MC extraordinaire, he's so cute, ladies. He's so much fun. And the guys love him too, because he's hilarious. Lots of really good energy, fun, interactive games and events and activities that he'll be doing from stage. And who knows what he's got in store for us as the event MC. So come on in, won't you? And join us. You got to make a commitment to yourself and your business not to get pulled away. You need to figure out how you're going to commit to getting coverage in your program so that you don't get pulled back and you miss all the valuable sessions. So that is my request of you, is that if you're going to come and be with us for 3 days, we need you to find a space where you can minimize or eliminate distractions and have coverage if licensing shows up, if the toilet overflows, if a child gets sick, if a staff member gets COVID, God forbid, you need to have all of those things covered and handled so that you can show up fully present to get the most that you can out of this event. So that is what all of our folks, our attendees and our members are doing. It's not about convenience. A wise woman who I will be quoting and maybe featuring in a future summit says, commitment and convenience don't live on the same street. So I want you to step into your next path of business success. And in order to do that, you got to show up. So I know it's really, really hard right now to stay focused on your business and not get sucked back into the day-to-day working of it in the business. But for these 3 days, October 13, 14, and 15, my request and my deep, deep, deep heartfelt, maybe not a command, but a strong recommendation is that you commit to yourself and your team, your people, your family members, your spouse, the children you serve, to show up and commit to being there with us, and then reap the rewards and the benefits and the motivation and the filling of your cup, the lighting of your candle. So when forces blow, you will withstand the winds, the heat, and the trauma and drama of all of our worlds right now here in the fall of 2020. Speaking of trauma, do you need resilience? Do you need strength to face all the challenges that you're facing right now? I have a feeling you might. And I wanted to bring the resilience expert. I know no better human being on this planet than Dr. Nefertiti Poyner to help you with your resilience factors, to help you put up your umbrella when the rains come. And in today's podcast episode, she is going to bring it all, ladies and gentlemen. We have talked to her on Facebook in a side-by-side interview. I've interviewed her and had her speak at one of our quarterly mastermind conferences for the Academy, and the crowd went nuts. Our members went nuts for Ms. Nefertiti, and Dr. Poyner's got it going on, let me tell you. She is a really, really special person. And she's here today on the podcast. So you are in for a treat. Settle in. Get yourself your favorite cup of tea or coffee or a glass of wine if it's in the evening, and settle in and enjoy this 35, 40-minute conversation with Dr. Nefertiti Poyner. We talk about the resilience factors. She shares several, and we talk about why it's important for leaders to not only be working on their own resilience factors and to be able to lead others, both adults and the littles, by helping children and helping teachers and other adults, parents, find their resilience factors too. So when we can all start speaking the same language, it helps our business be stronger. Lately on the podcast, 3 or 4 out of the last 10 episodes-ish, and even going back further, have been about social, emotional, and or mindset issues, wellness. Why social, emotional? Why am I digging into that so hard right now? You need it. I'm hearing from you guys, you need it. I can't give you enough strategies and fill your bucket and fill your cup and light your candle with regard to resilience, social, emotional well-being, how to practice self-care, how to be a more authentic, transparent leader, which starts with a positive mindset, because it starts with you being okay with the person you see in the mirror. And when you love or can fall in love with, again, the person you see in the mirror, you will fall in love with, again, your business, the people around you, and you'll be much more apt to let go of the people that are disserving you in your life. And that's the biggest obstacle that I see for all of our folks in our industry, is that they don't let go quickly enough of both the toxic people and the sadness, fear, toxic emotions in their life and in their head and their heart. So I've been hitting this topic a lot But Dr. Nefertiti Poyner is going to knock it out of the park one more time for us today in her own unique way. Here to talk about the ultimate practice for staying resilient in times of crisis and stress. Dr. Nefertiti here on Child Care Rockstar Radio. Enjoy. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. It's Kris Murray, your host, and I am thrilled to welcome today's guest into the house, Dr. Nefertiti Poyner. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I can maybe say some other stuff. I'm just going to say I'm good.
That's the safest thing to say these days.
Especially right now.
Oh, Lord. Welcome to the podcast. So glad you're here at Child Care Rockstar Radio. Where are you right now?
Well, I'm in North Carolina. I actually call North Carolina home. So like many people, COVID-19 has got me off the road for a little bit. So my home is northeastern North Carolina, not too far from the Outer Banks, which have been beautiful and very busy this time of year.
Yes,
well, a little bit before this time of year.
Yeah. People seem to be flocking to resort areas and places that are lesser populated to try to get away and get some space.
Yes. I was going just to the Target a few weeks ago, and the road that leads into the Outer Banks was so jam-packed. And I was looking at all the license plates of people from different places. Right.
So tell us a little bit more about you. You have been with us a couple different times now. I've interviewed you on a Facebook Live, and then we were so blessed to have you come and be with our Academy members at our live mastermind meeting in July, and your session brought down the house. Like, everybody was raving and talking about your session for weeks and weeks. So just for those of you that don't know Nefertiti, tell us a little bit more about you and the DCRC, the Devereaux Center for Resilient Children.
Sure. I think some of the most important things to know is that I started off as a classroom teacher. I always wanted to be a teacher. I think if you ask a 5-year-old Nefertiti what she wanted to do for a living, she would tell you a teacher. And I think that's because I had really good examples, really good models of teaching, first in my home, and then I just met teachers who looked past my insecurities, my reading comprehension difficulties, and they just helped me be successful. So I said I wanted to do that for children. Mm-hmm. But as some of your listeners know, that didn't come with ease, because I got in the classroom and struggled a little bit trying to meet the social and emotional needs of some of my students. Now, back then, I would not have said I was struggling with social and emotional needs. I wouldn't have said that. I would have said these kids are bad. I would have told you, all these kids need a referral. And then this is what I've learned. That's not it. Mm-hmm. And I would tell that novice Nefertiti organize their suitcase. Children who are misbehaving have disorganized brain things going on, and some of them are experiencing trauma. Some of them are in very rocky boats. That's all of the analogies I use to help people understand that all behavior has meaning. And so I needed somebody to tell me that when I was struggling. And so now I'm just so thankful to be able to tell somebody else that you can do this. And sometimes, Kris, I talk to others like I wish someone had talked to me. I went into the classroom every day wanting to do the right thing, but I think there's nothing worse than going in, and even though you think you're doing your best, it is still not showing up. Mm-hmm. So through trial and error, through some of my students, affectionately the one that stands out the most, I just call him Kevin. I tell my teachers, my teacher friends, he was never absent. He was the first one there, last one to go home. We all know him or her. Right. But I'm thankful for meeting him, because he really helped me realize that it does start with a teacher who has an occupation. And I hope that word also resonates with your listeners. No occupations, occupation. And so as I grew as a teacher, I then came over to the Devereaux Center for Resilient Children, where I learned so much more. And then that's when I had a moment of regret. And I don't have many regrets in my life, but that one regret, I wish I knew about resilience and protective factors and all of those concepts when I was in the classroom, because I really think I would have, the framework just makes so much sense. And I just wish I would have known about it. But now I get to help teachers who's like me and program directors who get the Kevins in their office So we get to talk to them, but also parents, because some of us are raising a Kevin. I'm married to a Kevin. That's a whole nother podcast. When we grow up, so we'll talk about that maybe later.
Well, I would have to say that gentleman is very lucky to have you as his wife, but he might say otherwise from time to time, but we will get into that some other time. So at the DCRC, we'll give the website, we'll give more resources to you guys from the podcast towards the end, but tell us a little bit about like the mission and what kind of the work that you do at the center, and then how you fit into all of that going on.
Sure. So the Devereaux Center for Resilient Children started about almost 30 years ago now. And what we were trying our best to do is respond, because the Devereaux Advanced Behavioral Health, that's our parent organization, we serve as adolescents and teenagers at the national level, but we were starting to get referrals for younger children. And so when you look at the mission of our parent organization, when we start to get 6-year-olds, we're like, what's going on? Normally we're getting teenagers and adolescents and young adults, but now we're getting 6-year-olds. So we're like, what's going on? So the leadership team got together and they helped create the Devereaux Center for Resilient Children. What I like to say is children who are having a challenge at 14, they were once 4. So let's do what we can at that most, I call it when that suitcase is wide open. There's so much that we can do at that stage of their lives, and maybe they won't need such high levels of clinical support. So through our efforts, we have assessments for infants, toddlers, and preschoolers, and all of our assessments are designed to promote and identify protective factors, which are just behaviors related to resilience. And we see these very well documented in the research. So we have strength-based assessments. All of our assessments come with supports, which is another thing that I love. Don't just assess me. Tell me what to do once I get the results back. So that's a part of it. And then when we developed our tool for infants and toddlers, that's when we knew we had to have something that addressed the well-being of the adult, because that adult is rocking the baby and getting down on the floor and saying, come here, I'm waiting for you. And then when they're not well, without them even knowing it, they might be passing on some of that. So we also have an effort dedicated to supporting the adults. And that's a lot of what I do right now. When you say, what is my primary role? A lot of my work is leading our efforts around adult well-being, which is also a piece that I wish someone had told the teacher Nefertiti about. Don't forget about yourself, Nefertiti.
Yes. So that's one big reason why we brought you to our quarterly academy meeting and also to the podcast, is because we're trying to help leaders of preschools with filling their own buckets and having their own well of wellness to draw from when they're leading others who might be facing crises, challenges, difficult mindsets, trauma. And I think, Nefertiti, this all came about much more on the podcast. I've been talking about these kinds of topics since March because of COVID-19. But I think it's also a blessing that I've gone on this path to provide all of these resources and people like yourself to our community at large of leaders, because we've got thousands of listeners on this podcast now. And so it's my hope that we can give these tools to our directors and to teachers to be able to allow them to assess and then have the supports and the tools that they need in their toolkit. So again, I'm just very grateful for the Devereaux Center. I'm very grateful to Evan Goldman. I'll give him a shout out on this podcast because he's the one that connected us in the first place.
We've known Evan for a long time.
Yeah. So this is really, really good. So really good things can come out of a pandemic, I guess is what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about your journey, a little bit more in depth. So you were a teacher, and then I know that you also worked in and around early learning environments, and then maybe in administration and or just in kind of doing what you're doing. And then you got your doctorate.
Yes.
Right. So then tell us just a little bit, and you're a mom. So tell us a little bit more about highlights of your journey.
Yeah, yeah. So when I said I was surrounded by great teachers, I do think that my mom was such a part of that. And I think those of us that are listening, when we do think about risk factors and protective factors in children's lives, someone yesterday, when I was like, well, what are some of the risk factors that children face? Someone typed in the chat box, single parent. And so I immediately thought of my mom, who is here helping us hold things down for a little bit. I was raised by a single mom. And if you dare call her risk factor, she might use some choice words to let you know how that felt. And so I think some of my first teachings did happen at home. And one of the things that my mom did for me is she let me know that Nefertiti, anything is possible. She supported all of my dreams, both my brother and I. She supported all of our dreams, all of our goals. And so with that, I went out into the world thinking I can be the change that I want to see in the world. And I think when I met Kevin, that's the name I just call him, I had to be reminded of that. And the year I joined that classroom, Kris, they had 3 teachers by October. They had gone through 3 teachers. The
Wow.
first teacher left for maternity leave. The second 2 teachers left because of classroom discipline.
Mm.
So I will never forget it. I went home and I told my mom about the job because at that point I had just come out of private preschool, pre-K. I was a pre-K teacher, and
Okay.
I went to go to the school district because I'm supposed to make more money and all these things. I was happier with my pre-K children. That's a whole nother.
Thank you. Yes.
So I get over there and I'm talking to the principal. I'm looking in the classroom and I'm like, I'm not going in there. They're about to have 4 teachers because I'm not going in here. I went home and I was telling my mom about the situation. And she said, Nefertiti, you can do this if you want to. So I'm like 20 years old. I don't really know what she's telling me. I'm thinking she's thinking I'll pay your bills some more if you want to if you want to work. I'm like, because when you work, so you need somebody to help pay your income. So my mom was supporting me. But what I now know is that what she said, if you want to.
Yeah.
If you want to be the change, you can be the change. And so I know so many of your directors sometimes feel like, nobody really understands the work that we do, Kris. I mean, people say, I don't know why you're tired. All you do is play with kids all day. I give them 5 minutes to come down here and keep everybody safe. And I really challenge them to come down here and wear a mask and try to keep you breathing intact and keep children who were designed to be with others, keep them. Come on, let me
Oh,
see.
yes.
This is so easy.
Uh-huh.
Oh, this is so easy. So when I came out of the classroom, I worked with teen moms for a little bit too. And that's also when I learned about how important helping make sure parents understand what's happening. Because when I met the teen moms, I was realizing that they don't really know what to do when it comes to these babies that they're sharing their life with. So I was able to take some of my teaching experience and help them with that. But for 20 years now, I've been at the Devereaux Center for Resilient Children. I call it an occupation, like we said earlier, where you just get to do what you love every day. And that's hard because right now, my children, because I share my life with a spouse and my oldest child is 16 that's still at the house. And we have a 5-year-old. And the 5-year-old, Kris, is in virtual kindergarten. So if I can be honest with your listeners, I will tell them that this has not been easy for me. Because I watch Madison, because sometimes we have to share my office space. So her desk and things are set there, and then I sit here. And the first week, it was horrible. It was so hard to watch. And a few times during my webinars, I've even teared up because it's like and she's doing her best. I think the educator is doing her best. I will tell your listeners, if they do have to teach virtually, make sure you make it interesting. Because you remember when we were doing it live, we could barely keep their attention with circle time when we had them in front of us. Right. So if you do have to do virtual learning, keep it interesting. Keep it interesting. And then watching her have to, she has, Madison, our 5-year-old, she doesn't have many social interactions because we don't have many. My colleague calls them the germ families. Like we have our germ family, and we don't spread our germs to other families. Right. But we have a young lady that lives next door. Her and Madison played together a little bit. And this weekend, she walked out. She came in the house. She grabbed her mask. And then she went outside and she said, Mason, I have my mask. You want to play? And while I was so proud of her, knowing that she has to keep herself safe, I lost it.
Oh,
Really lost it. And I try so hard not to let either one of them see how hard all, because I'm watching them do their best, but the fact that they have to just adapt this way is so hurtful.
it's so difficult.
Yep.
I agree with you. And as a mom, from a mom to a mom, I've got a 15, you've got a 5, but my 15-year-old is not thriving either. She is very, very, very much isolated and not doing well mentally with her. So look, I do think we're going to go back soon because all the parents in my community have risen up and went to the school board meeting last week and said, so our kindergarten through third graders are going back next week because of parent input, which has its own set of risks and circumstances, right?
Absolutely.
But so anyway, I know it's a very, very difficult time, Nefertiti, and I thought you were going to go down the road of trying to do my webinars and trying to do my teaching and my career and my profession and my occupation while my daughter's sitting right here and she's constantly coming to me, interrupting and going, Mom, 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 because a lot of our folks are also dealing with 17 things they're trying to manage at home now that they have kids learning at home. Plus they're trying to run their company, or whatever. So it's almost impossible.
Yeah. No. One of the things that I do, because you and I talked about just some of the things we can make sure are conveyed in the little bit of time we have together. And one of the things I had to learn, which is not a strength for me, is I had to ask for help. I'm not the type of person who thinks I can do everything. I just don't want to be an inconvenience to others.
Right.
And I often think, well, if you need help, what makes you think anybody else has the time to help you? So even those that we share our life with, I've had to learn to be able to explicitly say to my husband, I need help with A, B, C, or D, because I don't think it's fair for me to sit back and say, well, whatever I may say at that moment, because just ask for help. And my mom is here. She is in the high risk because of her age.
Yep.
She is in the high risk because of her health. But when she said, Nefertiti, I have a little bit of time, would you like some help? I had to pray about it. And I had to say, are we ready to do? We've always been practicing good safety habits, but this is different.
Right.
This is different. And so I said yes. And I've had to just allow her to do the laundry if she asks me, or to just help organizing your space.
Yeah.
Sometimes our listeners have to understand your reflection of how you feel in here is a reflection of how this is going out here.
Yes.
So sometimes I just need to get the kitchen straight.
Yeah.
So that we can sit down for a meal together. So if someone is trying to think about what we might do differently, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid.
Yeah. I think people think they have to go it alone, and they forget that, a sign of a really positive culture, or a culture that's on its way to getting more positive, is a place where you can ask for help and you can ask for input and sharing and feedback, two-way feedback. All of those things are comprise good leadership.
Yeah.
What's a fun fact that is something hardly anyone knows about you that you would be willing to share?
Oh, that's a good question. A fun fact that not too many people know. Yeah. Well, one of them is, okay. Oh, I'll just tell you this one. My favorite TV show is The Golden Girls.
That's a good one. That's hilarious. Are you still watching old reruns of The Golden Girls still?
My happy place. For sure.
I love it. I love it. Which is your favorite Golden Girl? Do you have a favorite? Do you like them all?
Yeah. I want to be just like Sophia when I grow up. Just an old Spitfire. Leave me alone. I just want to say what I want to say, and people just excuse me because I'm old.
I love that. That's fantastic. Let's dig into the role of director and leader in an ECE environment. So what are some things that you see directors doing right now that you would like to help them change or shift, or maybe you're actively working on providing them with maybe more tools or more positive mindset techniques? Anything that rises up for you in that area?
Sure. I think one of the things where we have a resilient leadership program where we do work with leaders across the country. And one of the things that's coming up in one of our next sessions is the importance of empathy. Now, when we talk about empathy with our team members, we're not asking you to agree. Now, as a director, sometimes your team will do things that you just don't agree with. But when you're trying to think with empathy, you're just trying to put your feet in their shoes. And again, I want to make this strong point. It doesn't mean you have to agree. And a lot of times, I'm encouraging empathy because you want someone to do it for you. You know, some of your teachers think you're in your office just making up these rules just to drive them crazy. Mm-hmm. And we know that you're not. We know that you're not. So as you want them to try to make sure you understand how important your role is and what you do, we also want you to make sure you remember what they do. And I know, Kris, so many directors do this, but then there are a few who, and I've met a few, you know, these are the conversations that get stuck in the bathroom. They'll say like, Nefertiti, you see her in there or you see him sitting there right now. Let me tell you how it really goes on. And then they'll tell me their perception, which is it's just their perception. Right. But just remember how tough it is to do this work. Our childcare, the teachers, the staff members, they're the foundation of who you are as a program. If you didn't have the staff, you wouldn't be able to function. Mm-hmm. And so just remember the role that they play. We're all hoping that from this day forward, people will understand how essential we are, and not just essential to the livelihoods because we help mommies and daddies and families get to work, but we're teachers.
Right.
I want the staff to feel, don't second guess yourself. You're a teacher. Your mm-hmm. students just happen to be 3 months old. You're still a teacher.
Exactly.
You're still a teacher.
Yeah. And one thing I've heard around that is that leaders are saying with the shift to, because a lot of them have incorporated in elementary enrichment program and enhancement through the virtual pods, and they're bringing in more school agers. Yep. And they're also attracting more school age teachers, traditional elementary school teachers who are shifting from the school system back to preschool environments to help with these pods and things. So I thought it's an interesting shift. And they're going, now that the teachers K through 5 have come into our school, it's making the rest of our daycare professionals feel like they've been like, you know, lifted up, and now they're real teachers too. And I'm like, well, that's fantastic, but why do we have to wait for that to have, you know? So I think it's great that you said that, because it's still a place where we have to constantly be proactively reminding people that we are teachers, that we are a respected profession that is, you know, I mean, 0 to 3. There's nothing more valuable than 0 to 3. Like, come on.
Yes. But again, I think the world doesn't make us feel that way. But this is what I have to, again, tell the Nefertiti of before. Nobody can make you feel anyway. You allow that to happen. And I want our teachers and the directors just to allow your teachers just to walk proud. And remember that when you teach a child how to walk and how to get not to poop in their diaper, like really, that's like algebra. Let's really call it and that's what we do. And I tell my teachers all the time, if someone asks you what you do for a living, you better tell them you're a teacher. And what if they ask me what grade I teach? Tell them you teach 3 months old. That's what you tell them.
I love that.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more. Let's deep dive into this resilience factors teaching that you have, these tools. Okay. So when life does not go our way and we are facing these crises, these challenges, how can we spend less time kind of lamenting, maybe even wallowing in some of those negative emotions, and kind of pull up our bootstraps maybe more quickly and use those resilience factors to guide us on a more positive turnaround? So maybe we should first dig into, maybe you can share 1 or 2 of your favorite factors, or just ones that you think might be useful for the listeners, and then we can dive in from there.
Sure. So when we think about resilience, we're thinking about when life pulls on you, but you choose, because I think, Kris, one of the first places we have to start is we have to choose. We have to decide that I'm not going to stay this way, but that I'm going to open myself up to the processes, the opportunities to bounce back. This week I did a webinar where I did ask the group if you need an accountability partner to because I said, you listen to this webinar for an hour, but somebody listening to us was not ready to make this move to make themselves first. They just weren't ready. So I extended an offer. If they needed to be held accountable, just send me a quick email that says, I want to be held accountable and give me a date. And I would set my calendar and I would just send a quick email back to them and say, today is your day. Because sometimes when we're listening, it's like we're listening and we pretend we're a bucket. We've got holes in our bucket. So the facilitator can be amazing and engaging and offer lots of scholarly research and documentation, but you're not holding on to any of it because you are empty. And so it's like it just pours out of you. So you first have to decide that I am no longer going to go around empty. I am not going to allow myself to be like this. Yeah. And then once you decide that you want to do that, then now it's time to think about, what do I do, Nefertiti? What do I do, Kris? Mm-hmm. So in the resilience research, it asks us to balance our risk factors with our protective factors. The way I say it is, if it's raining, grab an umbrella. And you know I've got an umbrella, right?
Yes.
If it's raining, you got to grab an umbrella. So again, the resilience research calls them protective factors. Your protective factors are what buffer you from the experiences that are happening for you. It doesn't make them go away. Because one of your directors, right in the middle of the pandemic, his or her relationship started to demise. And then the children started to misbehave because of the instability of the home. And so all of that felt like rain. And so instead of just letting it rain on him or her, I have to say to myself, where are my umbrellas? Mm-hmm. And the research that what we do at DCRC is we promote a protective factor called relationships. And I was so happy to see this one in the research, Kris, but I was also nervous because I don't have a lot of friends, and I like it that way. So when it said you needed to have relationships, I'm like, I got to get some more friends because I don't know if I'm going to have this umbrella. But it didn't say that. It says you have to have those one or two people who can look at you and know she's not okay. Okay. So that's relationships. The second protective factor, which I also identify with, is a sense of internal beliefs. Now, simply put, that means you have to like and or love the person that you see in the mirror. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't always make good choices about things that happen in your life. Because I don't know if anybody out there can attest to that moment where, because you weren't feeling so pretty, you didn't make the best choices. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, you attract how you feel. You are what you attract. So if you can do your best to be positive and energetic and those things, you might just attract those things back. And then just really, really speaking, sometimes we don't like ourselves because of the color of our skin or the size of our hips or all those things. Mm-hmm. You got to learn to love all of those things if you can't change them. Mm-hmm. So if you're not going to go get it shaved off or work it off, then you got to love it. You got to love it. And so that's internal beliefs. And then there is initiative. That's getting out there and living your life. Mm-hmm. We were just talking yesterday, my mom and I, about the difference between existing and living. Yeah. You know, life is too short. And COVID-19 is demonstrating that for us. You got to live. Yeah. You got to live, and you don't want to just exist. And then the final protective factor is self-control. And that means don't wear that T-shirt that says I'm fine when you know you're not fine. Mm-hmm. There are far too many of us who we will talk about that pain in our back or that headache, but the day you've gone days or weeks at a time, not able to get out of bed because you don't have energy, or your diet is changing, or your weight is changing, or somebody's laughing in the room and you don't know what everybody's laughing at because you're just not there. Mm-hmm. It's okay to talk about that. And I don't like it when a superstar or somebody we watch on TV or gets all this press. Listen, each of us has had a chance. We've known at least one person who we needed to say, it's okay to talk about it. So I just wanted to become really common and easy and welcomed. And that also is when the village gets healthy. Because there's an old African proverb that says it takes a village to raise a child. Well, I want the village to be healthy. So I changed the proverb to say it takes a healthy village to raise a healthy child. So Because that's important. Not
Yes.
just a village, but a healthy village.
I love that. Those are all extremely profound and just, that's an amazing share. Thank you so much. And I know that we're recognizing parts of ourselves as Nefertiti was taking us through those resilience factors, times that we have not chosen to honor ourselves or love ourselves, all parts of ourselves. I think women struggle with it more than men, maybe.
Sometimes.
And we're a woman-centered industry.
Mm-hmm.
And a typical preschool is primarily, 90% female.
Yeah.
We've been talking on a prior episode. I was talking with Dr. Calvin Moore about trying to get more males in the classroom.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that those are all really important things to remember. And thank you for that. I have heard you talk about little things that we can do to strengthen ourselves when we are having a hard day or facing rain. Things like trying to remember our sense of humor. Yep. And things like music and other little things that we can try to do to pull ourselves out of a tough spot. So talk a little bit about those kinds of things, just kind of quick little strategies that we can do when we're not feeling it.
Yep. I would love the listeners to think about this term offered by Ann Maston, who's one of the seminal researchers in the body of resilience. Think ordinary magic. Think just ordinary things, because I think sometimes when people hear resilience, I got to do this. No, a sense of humor can be great. Listening to music. The other thing that is really great, which is also one of the secrets that not too many people know about me, you want to think about having a hobby. As some people call it a time waster, I want all of our listeners to think about, you have to have a hobby. What do you mean, Nefertiti? I don't know how to craft. I'm not talking about that. My husband's hobby is washing and detailing the car, and I love that that's his hobby. But what you're looking for is just a moment to hang it on the hook. Yeah. What do you mean it? Whatever it is, the work, the budget, the staffing, give yourself permission to hang it on the hook. Because guess what? It's going to be right there on that hook when you get back. Right. But you might have some more energy to deal with it because you made time for yourself. Mm-hmm. So I live for the weekend because that's when I hobby, and I don't want nobody messing with me because I make candles and I make sugar scrubs and because I like stuff to smell good, and I don't want anybody bother me. So I got a do not disturb sign. They even know when I have my apron on, you better leave me alone. You better leave me alone. So hang it on the hook. Yes. Hang it on the hook and indulge in your hobby, even if that means detailing the car. Right. I love that. I think that also for me, that's rung true. I have just taken up finally pottery. I've been wanting to learn how to throw a pot for years. And I started it 4 months ago. So now I've made 4 pieces. I'm slow, but I've got 4 pretty pieces. And then what else did I do? Oh, and then I bought myself some inflatable kayaks, and I'm on the river outside my house on the river. And those 2 things, Nefertiti, I got to tell you, when you're in the zone of making a pot on the wheel, or you're on the river watching the river for the next rock that you might hit. Yes. You're not thinking about what's on that. Yes, that's it. Just so releasing of all of the day to day. So you come back so refreshed. That's it. So we want to tell people who's like, really, that's a waste of time. Well, give yourself permission to waste a little bit of time. Yes. I love it. I love it. So let's give the listeners some resources for how they can learn more about how to work with you and the Devereaux, the DCRC. And before we do that, I want to ask you, what are you reading, watching, or listening to right now that inspires you? And it could be either career related or personal, but what are you loving right now that you can share with the listeners that might light them up a little bit? This is so hard. Besides Golden Girls, I cannot believe that this is where my life is. But when you want to know what I'm reading, this is what I'm doing. See? Like, I'm reading preschool books. I put my kindergarten teacher hat back on so I can figure out how to supplement Madison's kindergarten experience. Oh my goodness. That is what I'm reading. But because I thought you might ask me this question.
Right.
I also like the work right now. I listen to the webinars by Natalie Kogan, Kogan. She researches happiness. She researches happiness. So Natalie Kogan has a really nice, I think it comes out on Wednesdays. So I really like her work. And when I take my walks in the morning, I listen to Gretchen Rubin, who also researches happiness, because sometimes I want to make sure people understand that there is a research base. There is an approach to being happy, and it's a choice. Mm-hmm. It's a choice. And so I'm encouraged by those, because lately, Kris, I've needed some of my own encouragement. I'm like, ooh, my well feels like it's a little dry.
Right.
So those have been working for me.
Thank you for sharing those. We all need a little bit of that from time to time. Appreciate that. If you could put a message on a billboard and share it with the world, what would it say?
Live today well. Live today well. Just don't worry about just today. And then if you get up every day and you say that, you're well on your way. Live today well.
Nice. Love it. So let's let people know how to reach you. And are you available to come into specific programs and do webinars? Like, kind of, how does your typical week, month operate? Or do people want to come over to the Devereaux Center website and sign up for things? Okay.
Well, they have all of those options. So right now we have a standard calendar. So if for any reason a team member goes to our website, which we can put in the show notes, you go there, you check out our calendar of standard events, and you're welcome to join any of those. We do informational webinars, which you're welcome to join us. And then if you do need some specific content, because one of the things I really try hard to do if we were to work together is tell me what we need. And I will do my best to sit with the content and make it matter to you and your team. There's no one size fits all. And if that means we have to put things together a little bit to make sure we meet your needs, we, like most people, are doing everything virtually right now. So I would welcome, and just conversations. If you just want to talk about anything we talked about today and we can discuss how we could move forward together, I would like to be a part of your village, although I'm over here in North Carolina, because you're not alone. And we can do this together. I think it's going to be better after COVID-19. I really do. I'll be really glad when we get there, though, because,
Yes. The last podcast I did was with Tamina Adams on my team, and she said, remember how your mama used to say, girl, if you don't behave, I'm going to kick you into next year. I'm going to smack you into next year. And she goes, I wish my mama could smack me into next year.
That's good.
Maybe into 2022.
Absolutely. God, I thought it was a dream, but it is not going.
So the website, everybody, is centerforresilientchildren.org.
Correct.
Right? Centerforresilientchildren.org.
That's correct.
And also, you have a book, Nefertiti, or two, I think.
We do. We have this one. And this, I just happen to have them sitting around here.
Right.
I have 5 back here, actually.
Nice.
This is Socially Strong, Emotionally Secure. Now, again, what I love about this book is we try to give preschool-based activities on how to promote resilience in the classroom, but there is a companion activity that parents can do with their children. So Madison and I have been doing some of these. And then Build Your Bounce. This one is a small book, more designed for adults. And the protective factors that Kris and I talked about together, you will find those outlined here. And it'll help you just think about how to make sure you are giving yourself permission to put yourself first, because that's really where it starts.
Right. And that's what I want for all of you guys. I have the Building Your Bounce here in my Success Library, and I primarily am working and coaching you all in helping you bounce back faster and with more strength of leadership, more confidence, more empathy, and stop getting stuck so long and so deeply in whatever happens. That's what I find is really holding people in a place of pain, is that they're not working on their skills and their mindset and those building the bouncing back factors, the resilience factors, to allow them to bounce back faster.
Yeah. but it impacts your budget, it impacts your hiring, it impacts the way you interact with your staff and your family. So you're worth it. Don't forget, you're worth it.
Yes, you are worth it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Dr. Nefertiti Poyner, you've been amazing as always. We love you to pieces. We do. We just love you. Just want to eat you up.
I look forward to that day where we can hug and handshake and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yes. I look forward to that very much. We will bring you to a future summit, hopefully live, to do some sessions in person. And I can't wait for that day.
Yeah,
thank you so much for being here. Sure. And enjoy the rest of your week. Good luck with Madison's virtual school and everything else you got going on in your world.
Thank you.
Blessings.
I'll see you soon.
All right, honey. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.